If you are currently in the middle of exams or you have your exams coming up, I know if you're in year 11, you have your prelims coming up. Um, this video is for you, all right? Because right now you probably feel stressed out, you probably feel behind, you probably feel like you're maybe like didn't do as much as you wanted to do. Maybe you feel lost, right? Whatever that is that you're feeling right now, I want to give you one of the methods that really, really will help you overcome this feeling, right? Because when I was in year 11 and 12, it often felt like, not in year 12 actually, because by then I had fixed it. But I remember at the start of year 11, when I started actually trying to do well in school, I would be so stressed out over everything, right? I'd be like, oh, I have an exam coming up and I feel behind. I have an exam coming up. I need to catch up on this and this, but I also want to do past papers and I also want to do this and all that. Like, it was just all over the place, right? And I figured out how to fix that. And that's what I want to share with you today, right? So, I speak to students on a daily basis, right? It's part of what I do. Dux Academy, you can check it out. First link in the description. I mentor students, and a lot of the times I run multiple group calls every single week, right? And I always get a message from a student, and it's always like something along the lines of, "Oh, I need to do this, but then I also need to do this, and I feel lost with this and X and Y and Z." And what I notice is that there's never actually a problem, right? And that is a topic for today's video, which is the problem that you're having. Right now, if you feel stressed in anything, right, in any exams coming up or whatever that's happening, I want you to ask yourself, what is the actual problem? Like, what is the problem? And what you'll find is, if you're honest with yourself, what you'll find is that there is no problem. The only thing that is actually there is emotions. That's what's actually holding you back. There's no actual legitimate problem, but there is an emotional problem. I'll give you an example, right? I just spoke with a student, like literally 5 minutes ago, and what they were telling me is that, hey, Luke, man, look, I feel like I'm behind. I need to catch up, but I also need to do past papers, and I also need to, get feedback. And my prelim exams are in 2 weeks, right? Prelims, year 11 exams. And I was like to him, okay, what's the problem? He's like, oh, I feel like I'm not going to have enough time. I'm like, okay, how do you know you won't have enough time? And he's like, no. I'm like, so what do you mean you feel like you're not gonna have time? It's like, oh, because I only have 2 weeks. And I'm like, so why don't you just plan and make sure you do have enough time? And he's like, oh, but then I have to do so many past papers, I have to fix the content. I'm like, okay, so what's the problem here? Like, oh, I need to do more past papers. And then I'm just like, so just do more past papers. And he's like, yeah, but like I feel like X, blah, blah, blah. The point I'm trying to get across here is that there is actually no problem. The only problem there is your emotions are making it seem so deep when it's actually not that deep. Like right now, please, if you're watching this video and you have an exam coming up and you're stressing out or you feel lost and you don't know what to do, I want you to ask yourself a simple question. What is the problem? Because problem definition is 95% of the process of problem solving, right? I think it was Albert Einstein who said this. I'm not exactly sure, but he said something along the lines of, like, if I had 1 hour to solve a problem, I'd spend the first 55 minutes defining the problem and then the 5 minutes solving it, because the 5 minutes is all it needs to actually solve the problem. What you need to be doing right now is figuring out, what do I actually need to fix, right? And once you find out what you need to fix, it is so easy to fix. Like right now, if you, for example, having your exam in 2 weeks, and you ask yourself, what problem do I need to fix? Then you'll probably say something like, oh, I need to revise my week content. Okay, so just revise the week content. And then you might say to yourself, oh, but the problem I have is I want to do past papers and I won't have time. Okay, so just start doing past papers earlier and also revise the content, right? Because if you can identify what the problem is, then you can solve it properly, right? And what I find what happens with a lot of people is that their emotions run them, right? Like not even just students, by the way, like 99% of people, they let their emotions run them. What do I mean by this, right? Well, what they do is because they feel like they're behind, they take the action of someone who is behind, right? They behave as if they're behind. Because they feel like they won't have enough time, they behave as if they won't have enough time. So they do random things, they don't stick to the plan, and X, Y, and Z, right? So here's what I want to tell you right now. First of all, I want you to stand on top of the mountain and look down. Right now, you are in the battlefield. You're in the fog. And because you're in the fog, because you're in the battlefield, you can't see things for what they are, right? You just feel them. So what I want you to do, it's like an analogy. Instead of being in the battlefield and being in the midst of your emotions. I want you to stand up, go to the mountain, and look from a distance what the problem is. And you'll realize it really isn't a big deal, right? And by the way, this method even works with like if you get a bad result in an exam, right? If you get a bad result, there's two things you can do. Number one, you can start crying and then give up and then, hate yourself and then you blah, blah, blah. Or you can just be like, okay, we got a bad result. Let's just figure out what I need to do so I can fix it and then smash the next exam. It's that simple, right? But because you let your emotions tell you what to do, when you do get a bad result, when you do get that mistake, you just run, wildfire, right? And this what happened to me, I remember for year 11 when I done my first exam in year 11. So I remember for year 11 when I done my first math exam in year 11. I studied super hard. I woke up at 4 a.m. to study, and I got like 70%. And in the moment, for like the first day, thank God I figured how to, I fixed myself. But for the first day, I was just like, you know what? Screw the ATAR, screw this, screw that. I don't have any chance of success. And I was like, hold on. Lukeman, just relax. You got 70%. What did you do wrong? I was like, okay, what did I do wrong? Did I do enough practice questions? I don't think I actually did. Okay, I got this topic wrong. Did I do enough practice questions of those? Like, no, I didn't. So the problem was I didn't do enough practice questions. I didn't focus on my weaknesses. So then I was like, you know what? For my next exam, I'm gonna make sure I do that. And what happened? I end up getting like the 100%, right? So from now on, when you ever feel like you're stressing out or you're suffering or you're finding it hard to do things or you feel lost and you feel like anxious, I want you to try this. Ask yourself, what is the problem? And then ask yourself, what is the solution? And it will be right there. And don't listen to your emotions. If you feel like you're behind, don't think you're behind unless you objectively see that you're behind. If you feel like you're cooked for an exam, don't say that unless you objectively see that, which is only after you do the exam. Okay? Don't let your emotions be the reason why you fail. Okay? Because emotions are very, very dangerous. Okay? If you're a student right now who wants to make an academic comeback, but he's stuck at that, C, D average level, check the first link in the description. I'd love to personally help you go from that to achieving that 9+ ATAR and becoming the Dux of your school. See you in the next one.